This determined, resolute 10-line statement is my own manifesto, which I have declared in response to the changed world. Countless people all over the world have been making their own manifestos since the outbreak of coronavirus. Companies are unveiling new businesses every day, and governments are also introducing new policies, all in an effort to respond to the new world. These responses will eventually change the world that we live in. Given that eventuality, don't we all need to declare our own 10-line manifestos in response to the changes happening in the world? In terms of our scenarios, these manifestos will be the equivalent of the synopses that summarize the key plot. In Stage 1, we have identified what we need to keep and improve, as well as what is likely to change, and what is likely to remain the same. In Stage 2, we use those findings to write a 10-line synopsis. It is our way of declaring to the changing world what we will do to confront it and win. When I asked Ji-yoon to write her 10-line synopsis, she wrote, "Even in a changed world, paper books will survive. I would like to distribute quality books to more readers in the wider world and enjoy a greater sense of reward. K-books can join the parade of the Korean wave that is marching around the world and stand side by side with K-pops and K-dramas. At a time when Korea is grabbing the attention of the world with its successful control of the spread of coronavirus, I want to take this as an opportunity to become someone who distributes Korean-made quality content products to the entire world. To make this happen, I should improve my foreign language and digital skills." One of the misguided ideas that people have is that inspiration comes suddenly, like a flash of lightning. That's not true. Inspiration happens when you see something unfamiliar, come upon new information, meet someone who works in a different field, or become aware of something that you've never paid attention to before. A clash with something unfamiliar creates a crack in your existing ideas, and out of that crack sprouts a new idea. That's what happened to Ji-yoon. She had already written her synopsis, but when she read an article about Bill Gates that said he had commended Korea's measures against the spread of coronavirus and had contributed a large sum of money to a Korean company, she came up with the idea of K-book that might take over the world like K-pop and K-drama. Some might say that the idea is ridiculous. They might shake their heads, pointing out that there have been similar attempts, but none of them has succeeded. Yet all those numerous inventions that changed human civilization started with someone's crazy imagination. To be honest, when my employees were talking about webtoons, I thought they should spend their time reading books instead. I couldn't figure out why they were so focused on childish cartoons. But my idea about webtoons was shattered when I saw an article about a cartoonist who presented a controversial claim. It was then proven by a researcher and defined by a scientist. I learned that cartoons are one step ahead of our time. The ingenuity that breaks through the boundary of impossibility without being restricted to complicated theories and calculation, and the daring courage that expands the range of human thoughts beyond space into another world, as in sci-fi movies, that's the kind of imagination that we find in webtoons. It is also the kind of imagination that we must have now, when we are living in a time when we cannot predict what will happen next week or next month. When imagining something new, it is also necessary to let your brain go as wild as it can. It's okay to be outrageous. Let the imagination go as far as it wants, even if it pops like a bubble in the next stage. If you fear failure, even in your imagination, you cannot start anything. A good synopsis is the kind that gets people to say, "No way." But if your friend tells you, "I think it's a good idea, give it a try," then chances are your synopsis is not strong enough. At a time when everything is changing by the hour and the minute, an outrageous vision of your future may have a higher probability of actually happening than a more tame, reasonable one. Perfect your synopsis by applying the reboot formulas. When you have finished writing a 10-line synopsis, it's time for one of the most important steps. You must review this synopsis in light of the 4 post-coronavirus reboot formulas on tact, digital transformation, independent worker, and safety. You may have the greatest plan ever, but if it fails to fit into the new world, it is nothing but a pie-in-the-sky dream. The synopsis is only an outcome of your imagination, and if you want to bring it to life and become your solution, you must clear it through the 4 reboot formulas. In the case of Ji-yoon, she sent me another synopsis just a few days later. It was about the business model she was thinking of using when she starts her own business, and she wanted me to review it and see if it met the requirements of the 4 reboot formulas.